Welcome. I'm Donna Kastner with Age Well Dayton, where we're all about promoting happy and healthy aging, and we're thrilled to be here at the food bank. Did you know that volunteerism is one way to promote happy and healthy aging, that modern elders who volunteer actually have a longer lifespan, a healthier lifespan? That's what the experts tell us. And so I am thrilled today to be joining CEO at the food bank, Michelle Riley. Michelle, thank you so much for today's conversation.
Thanks for having me.
I'm a big fangirl, you know that, and I'm watching what you're doing here, and volunteerism is something we're going to dig into in a moment. But I want to understand more about your journey. In fact, we're both education majors, okay? You're Wright State, so it's Rowdy Raider. I'm University of Dayton, go Flyers. But you've had a really interesting career path. Consulting, Aileron, YWCA. I mean, there's so many different dynamics. Tell us about your journey to your current role as CEO of the food bank.
Sure. So like you said, I started in education. I loved teaching. When I started teaching, it was the birth of inquiry-based teaching, so teaching by asking questions. And then I went into administration. During that time, some of the schools were shifting in Dayton Public Schools. And I remember we had the question, like, we would talk about children at that time, products of Dayton Public School. And I remember the first time I stood up and said, I was a product of Dayton Public Schools. So teaching was a lot of fun. I didn't go back to college till I was in my 30s. So I did that for 5 or 6 years, and then I went into administration. Administration for me just wasn't my gig because, as you know, in administration, it took me further from the classroom. And so from there, I was kind of on a journey to figure out what I wanted to do. And it was very funny. I heard about an opportunity at the YWCA, the women's shelter. And I went in there thinking, there's no way I'm going to take this job, but I want to know, right, what's out there. And so as I'm in my head saying, there's no way I'm going to take this job, I'm shaking my head, yes, I'm going to take this job. So we went from childcare to director of programs and then the chief operating officer there. So I was there about 4 years. And you know, when you're conscious that your journey is ending, like you need your next opportunity. I would have said I never wanted to be a CEO. That didn't have any interest to me. But this job came open, and it really is operations, all operations. And so I had transportation background, so it was just a good fit. I've been here about 13 years.
And it seems like there's like a weave between the teaching, discovery, and the operations. I am a good interviewer here in that I was looking at LinkedIn. So you've got your Bachelor of Science in Education. Science was the focus?
Yeah, global science, yes.
And then you moved on to a master's, and then you moved through other different leadership programs. But I also noticed Lean Six Sigma in your background and certifications. What is it? And I'm trying to stay clear on this: yellow, then green belt.
Correct.
I got to think, when I watch you from afar, I'm out here with my nose pressed up against the window, and there's things I'm doing where I'm like, I see elements of all of your training and your journey at work.
I think for us, Lean Six Sigma was the same as in the classroom, right? Is a child, like an adult, ability to see their own strengths within themselves. And I think a lot of times as employers, we like to say we want high performance, right? But if you don't really understand what high performance looks like, the ability to have a greater impact is lost. So we decided some time ago, and we're going to talk more about this, about the makeup of the folks that work here with me, my colleagues. But one of the things that was important, we felt, to build a strong team was to A, get communications training, and then B, is to understand and define what high performance is, and to learn how to solve problems in a way that doesn't go like this, but is for the greater good of the organization. So yeah, Lean Six Sigma, everyone here has a yellow belt. Wow.
All right. We're going to take a deeper dive on the food bank. And by the way, as a transplanted New Yorker, I am all about bottom line. And I just love, I'm moving through your website, give time, give food, give money. Like, you really are so clear, first of all, in ways that people can support the food bank, but you're also very clear in the impact you're having in the community. So I'm going to just kind of look through a few of the things I noticed. So you're serving 3 counties.
Yes.
There's
We actually share counties. So we have Montgomery, Greene, and half of Preble County.
Okay. And partnerships big. I saw, I think, 119 nonprofit partners. Tell me a little bit about how that works.
So a lot of people, when they think about the food bank, they think we're a pantry. And while we do some direct service, it's by heat mapping with the University of Dayton to look for where there's gaps. If you live in poverty, often transportation is a problem. And so we look for where those gaps are. But the 119 partner agencies that we serve is the reason we're in business. We act, if you think of it as a Costco, maybe. So the food comes in here through federal and state, and then it's distributed to our partner agencies. So yes, there's about 119 shelters, soup kitchens, pantries.
And again, bottom line here, like $1 donated equals 4 meals provided, right? Is that still working?
It is, and everyone questions. They're like, how does that work? I think it's probably best that we talk about how food comes in here. There's a lot of misconceptions about that. So through the Farm Bill, if the USDA goes in to regulate prices, farmers grow too much corn, there's too many pigs, too many chickens, they buy that off, and we receive that through the Farm Bill. So at the federal level, we get food through the Farm Bill. At the state level, the state of Ohio is very good to us. We have 2 grants, large grants. One is for shelf-stable product, and the other is for produce spent in the state of Ohio. Then we have our food drive barrels. And so the food coming in then comes in and goes out. And it's 80-20, the math that we all understand, right? That 20% of our partner agencies distribute about 80% of the food in these 3 counties.
And these are, how do I put it, tricky times we're moving through as a world, like, well, what kind of impact does that have on what's going on here? Both on the intake of food and the distribution.
Yeah, so I don't have the luxury in the seat to lean into my own politics, and I mean that because my job is to represent First and Tide for the folks that are in my line and for the folks that I serve here at the food bank. And so when you talk about how's politics affecting us now, I mean, like everyone, we're seeing reductions. We know through trending that when we lose, food or funds in one area, that we have to pivot for another area. For us, and I think this is important because this is a scary time for nonprofits, right? And you spoke a little bit about Aileron, Clay and Mary Mathiel. I was taught when I first got in the seat because I asked for help. I was like, I've never been a CEO before. What do I do? What does a business model look like? You. And they really took me under their wing. So I learned the DOC model: direction, operation, and control. And so we really do run this nonprofit like a business. And people are saying, well, you don't have a product to sell. Well, I do. It's our mission, right? That no one goes hungry, and that the root causes. And when I say root causes, really, I'm talking about people's ability to walk through the door and be ready for a good day's work. So workforce development. So that business model, just refocusing on that, has been very helpful in helping us pivot, not just in times like these, but when 15 tornadoes laid down, when COVID hit, we've just been able, for me, I never want to look like I'm having great times in hard times when other people are suffering. But the harder the puzzle is to put together, the more this team thrives. Comes together.
And that's exactly it. There's this puzzle and the pieces are sometimes scattered and we need to figure it out and solve it. I want to touch on Aileron again. So you benefited from the leadership and Clay and it's amazing things. I find Aileron to be like a Disneyland for trainers.
Yeah,
I go in there and go, wow. But you then kind of flipped it to start to share the insights you were learning as a leader and sharing with others through Aileron and now even through some consulting you might do. Tell us more about that.
So again, Clay and Mary Mathiel, I took their course for the presidents 4 or 5 times, and that's open to everyone, I think it's globally actually, to use his DOC model, right? But as we were going through, I was that C student that they just kept kicking out of class. I'm like, why are you back? You've had this class so many times. And a lot of it was just saying, okay, well, if we can transfer from a nonprofit to a profit and back and forth about business scaling, right, then we should be able to share that with the nonprofit world. So I taught with them till last March. We had a team that took the doc model and said, okay, here are the things that apply. Here are the things that aren't in there, like fundraising wasn't part of that. And then we use that to teach others. My consulting business is, I'm careful with that. So consulting means that any work that I do, that our food bank benefits from that. But we've been able to learn a lot from for-profits, the North American food equipment manufacturers. They had us out to talk about succession planning. And every time I'm in the room with a for-profit, right, I come in, even though I'm teaching as a learner, and I always take away more than I can ever give them. And so a lot of the market changes, the economy, how we prepared for COVID came directly from them. I watched how they were preparing and then brought what was applicable back here.
Okay, I want to get to the people element, and this plays out in a number of different ways, but let me step back. My lens is Age Well Dayton, and I'm focused on the people that are in that kind of third act of life, okay? Yeah. Maybe they're winding down from their traditional job. One, there is becoming a volunteer, right? Purpose and meaning are so important. And I'm going to park a few questions and then I'm going to cut loose and let you go and speak to these. So this is an opportunity for people that are looking for, what is the purpose and meaning in this third act of my life, and how might I take the skills I've been given and make a difference? So it's volunteers. And then there's another side to this as far as the people that you're putting to work and where they're working. So talk to me about both sides of that people equation, the volunteers and the workers, and the third one is who's being served.
Sure. So first of all, for us, we don't have a lot of programs here. So for us, folks who are aging, we have a CSFP box program. And so we find that in our neighborhood community that folks who are aging are most at risk if they have fixed income, right? So there's that element. So if you're aging and want to give back, you can actually lean in to folks who look just like us, right? So that's important. I think I love the question of culture because culture for me is much more important than strategy. You can't really be successful in strategy if you don't have a good culture. And so for here, we try to recreate, since 2014 actually was the first time we really leaned into it. And it takes buy-in from everyone. But we really believe that folks who've been justice involved have the right to make a fair wage, have insurance, and have a good place to work. So we started, that's how we got involved in Lean Six Sigma. That's how we got involved in communications training, because we don't all walk through the front door with the same abilities and lived experience to know how to show up, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't even know enough about our own strengths, right? So we use leadership of self, teaching, the DOC model, Lean Six Sigma, and communication to build a strong team. Once they know what high performance is, right? So 42% of our staff here have been justice involved. And if you add those of us who have had direct family ties to justice involved, it's up in the 80%. And so we said, okay, we want to feed the line. That's always our first responsibility. But we also want to shorten the line. And the only way we can shorten the line is to give a fair wage and a place that people want to come to work. So we got involved with reentry, like I said, in 2014. Probably the thing I'm most happy with is our work with the women's prison. So we have folks who are currently in prison who come to work here, who make minimum wage, and then they receive the training that they need while they're here, both communication and Lean Six Sigma, so that when they finish their sentence, they have a job waiting for them. My favorite story, and it's with permission that I share this, is we've had a young lady who was with us 7 months, had her training, finished a 6-year sentence. On Monday, we had a church that was one of our partner agencies that had a house waiting for her. By Wednesday, she had her children, and she's now been with us 7 months, never missed a day's work.
Wow.
So I want folks to know the full circle, right, of what your community looks like. It's not just the community in the line that you're serving, it's also the community that you're serving alongside here. And there are many many opportunities to volunteer. We don't believe that it should be a checked box. It should be an experience for you. So the best thing if you want to volunteer is to call us and tell us, what are your passions? What do you like to do? Do you want to sort food? Do you want to go out and put the food in someone's car? Do you want to speak to the people that are here? Do you want to work in community? So us understanding how best to help you volunteer an experience that really brings you back.
And you might underestimate that kind of triage that happens when I go, I think I want to volunteer. And it should trigger questions, as opposed to sometimes when we raise our hand and volunteer, we just kind of get assigned.
No.
And then we go, wait, what am I doing? And it sounds like you are very thoughtful in how you do that.
It is. Here's my favorite thing too. For us, the most sacred position here is what we call turnkey. Other folks would say cleaning, right? And that's the first place people want to put folks who are volunteering. Here, you're not allowed to do that because that's a sacred position here, for real. We know each other. We understand that our home, which is where we're here more than we're with our families, sends a message to who we are and what we are. And so we don't allow our volunteers to clean. That's just, we already take care of people who know us and know what our home should look like. When you come here to volunteer, you're really thinking about, and what I love about folks who are aging and who have experiences, right, they are the teachers when they come in. They are the historians. They bring knowledge with them. And so we've used interns, externs, and volunteers coming through many different organizations to do what they were expert at. Right? Including with our board, right? So if you need finances, then we have somebody in finances. If you need, like we were building a new building, we needed somebody that could, help us with that. So it just depends on what your passion is.
And that community focus and that well, let me go back to culture. It can't be declared. It must be lived, right?
Oh, yeah. Good luck with declaring it.
Right. But some of us are like, well, this is our culture. Like,
Yeah,
at the moment you tell me what your culture is versus you live it, I feel it, Michelle, when I come in through the door.
Thank you.
And that speaks volumes. And it is harder than it looks. Maybe?
Well, it depends on how much you want to control, right? So
Yeah.
we don't have a traditional HR here. We act as a bargaining unit, but we're not a labor. There is, again, no HR. I'm HR, right? So the only thing that ends up in here would be, an interpersonal problem. But we invest a lot of money. Last year we spent, now it's not cash on the table. We have many meaningful relationships. University of Dayton's probably one of our biggest. And we tell them, here are the things that we need. And then they set up classes to help us with that. But we invested about $250,000. So we have a mandatory meeting every day. And we have a 4-day work week. So 4 10s, and then we rotate out. But every day that we are here, we meet in the morning. We do a good for all. So here are the things you need to know about today that are changing with transportation. Then we have a question of the day. And then that question of the day, you're allowed to pass once a week. The couple of them I have to hold accountable for that. I'm like, yeah, you already passed this week. And nice try. But we have a question of the week. So we really get to know each other. And then we go around for gratitude. And with that and the training, it's about $250,000, but it's money well spent because it's not cash out of pocket, and it's yet another way to volunteer or donate your time. And for us, I'm careful with the word equity now because equity means something different to everyone. But for us, equity means we take care of each other. So when I have somebody, let's say you come out of prison, I come out of prison, and Johnny comes out of prison. Mm-hmm. I might have family waiting for me. Johnny already has a clean and sober bed. He has a recovery program waiting for him. I might just need some clothes and steel-toed boots. You might need everything from transportation to a house. And so instead of having a traditional HR, we use that money to have and hire a case manager. And the case manager is internal facing. So if you come to me and say, I just got out, but I need a recovery bed, and you tell me that, then we're gonna find a partner who can create that path for you, and then you'll have a job waiting for you when you get back. So it's more of listening, less dictating, and then finding the resources that are available here for others. And they're not entitlement programs. These are things that we know you need to be well to show up as your best self. And if we can remove you from the line and give you a fair wage and health insurance and a 401k plan, then you're not using tax dollars to then lean into programs that take care of you, that there's a lot of political opinions about.
It's a beautiful thing. And you're tending right across the board. I want to keep going with this because, again, that longing for belonging of my age group, it seems like there's opportunities here.
Oh, absolutely.
You mentioned your new building. Let's talk about that. I pulled in and went, oh my gosh, they're making some progress. Tell us what's happening, why it's happening, and what the timeline might be for completion.
I love to talk about this new building. I'm about 3 years from retirement myself, and this is the last project that we have. We have all of the funds raised. We did not have a capital campaign. We had a lot of support at the state level for this. And I'd like to thank, federally, we had Congressman Turner walk some help forward for us. But so the money's in-house. The building is about 12,000 square feet, so two stories. And the reason this building was so important for us is because when someone who's been in justice involved has to check in, has a treatment program, takes intervention, which is my favorite, intervention of lieu of conviction. So if you go to a judge and you have a low-level felony on drug convictions, you can take intervention of lieu of conviction, which means you have to get treatment, you have to go to court-appointed classes, but you can come here and do your community service. And so our new building will be the first in the nation to have a probation office on site.
Wow.
So that they don't have to go off site. They don't have to take time off the clock. They don't have to worry about losing their job. And a lot of my folks have 2 jobs, so they don't have to worry about that coordination. It can be done here on site. It also gives a venue for any community assigned service can be done here, right, at the food bank. And then the second thing, there are 2 turnkey exam rooms. So folks who don't have insurance or there's that lag time there, they can be seen. And we are using our local healthcare partners to fill those 2 rooms. Then on the top floor, it's just chairs for bottoms. We've run out of space here in this building. And this is the heartbeat of what we do. So it'll have a commercial kitchen for production, and
Wow.
we can do medically tailored meals. We won't be doing that in terms of large production scales because we have partner agencies that we support that do that. But we can then test in there and pilot in our kitchen. So we're very excited about the building.
And the building, what's the timeline looking like right now?
December. And
Really?
yes, my favorite part about this is, and I bought the food bank. Listen to this. We got the whole city block for $5 because they can get, nobody wanted the property. So we bought the whole city block for $5. With the building up, we will have invested $7.5 million in this corner that we've given back to the community. And, with payroll, we invest another $3.1 million in salaries.
I was just going to say that payroll piece, there's an economic, there's the food, this is all happening, but even the payroll is amazing. So the impact you're having. So first of all, kudos on your website. Anyone that's hearing our conversation, that's a great place to go because you have clearly outlined.
I will let the people who helped and volunteered to put that together know. I'm somebody who has trouble just turning on my computer, so I appreciate those kind words because I get a lot of feedback that it's easy to navigate. So thank you for that.
So part of the whole why I wanted to come out here is because I saw the amazing things you're doing, and sometimes against, some difficult, challenging circumstances. So there's modern elders that are at home maybe watching this and thinking, how can I help? And the website is the first place I'd send them to. As these modern elders move into their 3rd act, Michelle Riley, extraordinary leader, what tips do you have for us in how we will age gracefully and move into this 3rd act with hope?
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm an extraordinary leader. I think I fall forward, but I'm surrounded by amazing people. And if I had to say, give any advice about volunteering, my favorite thing to do is to tell people, just come. Let us give you a tour. Let us show you who we are. And then you tell us how to help you be helpful. But usually when we come, and I do want to speak for just a second. You didn't ask a question, but I want to make sure as we're closing that if you cannot come to the food bank, because there's transportation issues or because you have your own fixed income, we have a Good to Go backpack where we send out 1,400 backpacks a week to children who've been identified as food insecure. So if you'd like to teach your grandchildren,
Oh boy.
yep. If you have grandchildren, you're surrounded by grandchildren, and we teach them about food insecurity. Each one of those backpacks has a love note in it, and so those love notes then on the back side have a stamp that tells you, because I could put I know because we had bus duty, right? You put a pudding on a kid's backpack and it's flying all over the bus. But those backpacks serves as a venue to connect the family then back to us. And so it's stamped with a burner line where if you as a grandparent need help feeding your grandchildren, or if the family that you are helping serve needs help, that number's on there. And so that you can create those on a 3x5 card at home, even if you can't come here to connect to us. So there are many, many ways, and it's all laid out on the website for how to volunteer.
Michelle, thank you. First of all, for today, okay? Because I know there's lots going on here, and thank you for your time today and for this conversation. But even more so, thank you for the incredible things that you and your team are doing for our community. We cannot wait to see what's coming next, and especially with your new community center.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, viewers and listeners, to the Age Well Dayton podcast. We're so glad you joined us. I'm Donna Kastner. Hope to see you next time.